It's not very often that you hear a person talk about the Detroit Lions and winning games, but that's exactly what our new running back David Montgomery had to say when it came to the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions on their YouTube channel did something that they hadn't done ever before, which is show two teammates playing NBA 2K in preparation for the Heat Celtics later that night. And here's something that I think is very telling about the future of the Detroit Lions and why we will see more of this coming in the next several years. Here's what David Montgomery had to say about why he chose to come to Detroit as opposed to stay with Chicago. When asked about it, he said, "That's all I was used to," Montgomery said, of the Bears losing. And it got to a point where it sucked the fun out of the game for me because I'm a competitor. I like to compete. That's what football is about. It's so refreshing to be in a place where that's appreciated. Now, how often have you heard of a team or a person coming to Detroit to compete? That is something that I think we are going to have to get used to. We are used to people coming to Detroit on the last leg of their career, or literally they come to Detroit and they are never heard from again. So a lot of times people leave Detroit and they have success. Cliff Averill, among many others who have, even Kerry Hyder, have left Detroit and have had success. We even have a few Super Bowl winners. I think Cliff is one of them that attained a Super Bowl after leaving the city of Detroit. But David Montgomery, and choosing to come to Detroit because he was tired of losing and he wanted to compete. Montgomery was drafted in 2019. And in that time, here is a list of the Bears and their wins since David Montgomery was drafted. Now, check this out because this is very, very telling. In 2018, which I believe was the double doink. Yes, this was the double doink. This was the year before David Montgomery was drafted. The Bears were first in the NFC North, and they went 12-4. David Montgomery comes out this year. They win 8 games, and they don't make the playoffs. This year, they go 8-8. That was that COVID year where they just snuck in, and they lost to the Saints in the wild card round. 2021, they went 6-11. 2022, they went 3-14. Now, we know that the Chicago Bears had, if not the worst, one of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League. And David Montgomery knows what he's coming to, that we have at least a top 3, top 5 offensive line that he'll be running behind. But David Montgomery talking about coming to compete. And I saw that in his press conference, his introductory press conference video. Never made a video about it. It was going to be titled Swift on Notice because David Montgomery came in and said, if Jared Goff needs some water, I go get it for him, right? He came in with the mindset that he was going to dominate, and I knew Swift was in trouble at that point. But David Montgomery, how refreshing is it to hear someone talk about coming to Detroit to compete? And I tell you, this is going to be the start of more of this, where we won't have to overpay people to come here. We won't have any Trey Flowers on our roster. $90 million people. If we pay somebody $90 million, he's going to be worth every single penny. But that's a long shot because Brad Holmes is very frugal. He's very decisive when it comes to the money and how he's going to dish it out. But I believe that he'll dish it out when the time comes to the right player. But David Montgomery is the beginning of more things to come. We saw Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams came at the end of the 2020 season. He came with a new regime. So when Matt Patricia was fired and Dan Campbell was hired, he came. And Jamal Williams was big on helping turn the culture around. And now he's moved on, and we have as well. David Montgomery gets to reap the benefits of that, running behind that offensive line. But he is the beginning of more players, some of them we might know, that will come here to the Detroit Lions. And they won't require a bag to be thrown at them in order to come here because they're playing for an ex-player. People rave about playing for Dan Campbell. David Montgomery has only been here for a few months, barely even 2, and he is already raving about the team and the dynamic of the team. So this is very interesting, very telling of what our team is becoming, a place not where players go to die or to get a payday, but they're coming to compete. And I expect more players to come to the Detroit Lions with the thought of competing and even for a Super Bowl later down the line. Let me know what you think of David Montgomery's comments. How bad did he diss the Chicago Bears? I think it just states, it puts me in his mindset, where his mindset is this guy is a competitor. And even with us, if he starts losing, it's going to bother him. But I don't think we have to worry about that. I think our days of losing and being pathetic are over. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.